Okay, let's do review number 4, which is for Unit 3's quiz. And basically, again, here's your tips. Watch that video, no excuses, do your activities. And a lot of my classes have done the essay already, which is this one. Salt, sugar, and cotton. You choose 2 products. Explain why people needed or desired this product. Discuss how this product influenced a people or society and or region. And I always caution you to not go to the documents first. Always block your outside information and move on from there. Let the documents support your outside information. Okay, so topics, they're kind of all over the place in this unit, but Japan, the Mongols, global trade in general, the Renaissance, African trading kingdoms, a little bit of the Protestant Reformation as well. So here we go in terms of the Asian influence from China to Korea, China to Japan, and how Korea acts as kind of like a land bridge. And you can see Buddhism spreading, government, arts, writing system from China to Japan. Remember that Japan has a selective diffusion. So they want to stay themselves. They want to stay isolated to a degree. And Japanese feudalism pictured here in this triangle kind of shows that. The difference between Japanese feudalism and European feudalism is time period, but it's also a little bit different setup. The merchants are the lowest class because they don't produce anything. They just sell what others make. The largest class, of course, made up of the peasants and artisans, which is also similar to the Europeans, but they have a little bit higher status than the merchants. The samurai warriors are like the knights in the Middle Ages feudal period in Europe, with their code of Bushido in the samurai and the code of chivalry with the knights. The shogun and the daimyo is next, and then the emperor is kind of a figurehead. And this is going to last into, well, World War II, where they want to keep their emperor, and the United States says, no, you can't after World War II. This just kind of shows you a comparison between Japan and European feudalism, and notice that Japanese feudalism lasts until 1868, whereas European feudalism really begins to decline starting with the Crusades and into the Renaissance, although France is a little bit later. So in Japan you have the emperor, shogun, daimyo as nobility. In Europe you have the king, the lord, and the lesser lords. In Europe you have the knights with the code of chivalry. Japan, the samurai, and the code of Bushido. Okay, and this is all about security and stability, very well-defined social roles, and a lot of people being attached to the land and what the land can offer. The Mongols also offer a lot of stability in their conquering of this area from China, North India, into the Middle East, into what we consider Russia here, into Ukraine, that area. One of their biggest achievements is the construction of the Grand Canal and the extension of the Silk Road, but also kind of giving the Silk Road stability. They do have some openness to foreigners. In fact, Marco Polo from Italy is going to come and travel to the Mongol Empire and learn about that. They do link East and West, and they have this period of time called Pax Mongolia, which is a time of peace and prosperity. Like I said, Marco Polo and Ibn Battuta are 2 travelers. They both write down in their diaries. Marco Polo was a Christian Italian. Ibn Battuta is a Muslim, a part of the Muslim Golden Age, and they're really going to explore. They're going to write down. They give us firsthand accounts, and they're agents of cultural diffusion. Of course, the Crusades kind of kick this off, their history's most successful failure, and they allow the Europeans and the Muslims to start to interact and to trade. Of course, these trade fairs become towns and cities and capitals because of location, and this cultural diffusion will also lead to disease. And just at this cusp of the Renaissance, we're seeing this spread of the bubonic plague. And this shows you the earliest outbreaks here in this orange, 1347, then it moves north in the green, 1348, 1350 in purple, 1351 in red. And so basically, as these ships bring in trade goods, they're also bringing rats. Rats have fleas. Those go to the pretty dirty Christian Europeans, and bubonic plague spreads. Also during this time, Jews are cleaner, they're living a more kosher lifestyle, and so they're not getting the plague to the same degree as the Christians were, and people are blaming them for the plague. And I think one of the reasons that they do is because they don't understand how the plague is spread, and it's just another example of anti-Semitism. We also have the kingdoms of Ghana, Mali, and Songhai during this transition period from 800 to 1591 roughly. And for Ghana, the gold salt trade is very important, and there are some Muslim influences. And Mali has it all. They have the huge city of Timbuktu, which becomes a learning and trading city. Mansa Musa is the notorious leader. Huge monopoly of the gold salt trade. Mansa Musa shows the wealth of Mali. He goes to Mecca. He shows that he's a good Muslim. Okay, from Timbuktu all the way to Mecca over here. Then Songhai comes later. Timbuktu is still important, and the trans-Saharan trade is still important. This is a turning point because the Europeans will start to explore on the west coast, and they'll also start to explore the New World. During this time of the Renaissance from 1300 to 1700, we have the rebirth of the Greco-Roman tradition, but we also have this exploration of Muslim ideal man, which later becomes known as the Renaissance man, and the Muslim achievements. It's a time of inquiry. Why? It's the question 3-year-olds ask a lot. It's also a time of humanism, and here this quote from Da Vinci says, "One can have no greater mastery than mastery of oneself." This idea that to be the best person you possibly can be is the best thing on earth. Humanism is that celebration of individual achievements, being the best teacher, the best writer, the best speaker, the best athlete. And of course, the Renaissance starts in Italy. Why? Because Italy's location. It is ripe for trade, and then people make money, and then people buy the art of Da Vinci and Michelangelo and Raphael and other names of mutant ninja turtles. And of course, the Renaissance has great impacts, like the Protestant Reformation. In terms of the Protestant Reformation, it really is a questioning of why the Catholic Church has all this power, and the selling of indulgences is a bone of contention with Martin Luther, a monk of the Catholic Church. And he posts those 95 theses against the selling of indulgences, which was basically people buying their way into heaven or their loved one's way into heaven. And a guy named Tetzel said, "When a coin in the coffer rings, a soul from purgatory springs." That was his slogan for the Protestant Reformation. Or excuse me, his slogan for selling of indulgences, which was a great slogan that Martin Luther really got mad about because he just didn't find any justification in the Bible for the selling of indulgences. So you see here we have the splits in the Christian church. The Eastern Orthodox and the Roman Catholic Church were the first split. So if you were living in the Byzantine Empire, parts of Russia, you would be practicing the Eastern Orthodox Church. Then most of Europe was Roman Catholic. Then in the 1500s with the Protestant Reformation, we have new Protestants, Lutherans first, Calvinists, Anglicans in England, Anabaptists, or you could be Roman Catholic. Let's practice. Korea greatly influenced the development of early Japan by acting as a bridge for ideas from China, providing Japan with the technology for industrialization, serving as a barrier against Chinese aggression, or protecting Japan from early European exploration. The answer is number 1. The code of Bushido of the Japanese samurai is most similar to belief in reincarnation and karma of Hindus, practice of chivalry by European knights, teaching of Judaism, theory of natural rights of the Enlightenment writers. 2. Chivalry, Bushido. The Mongols played a significant role in Russian history by supporting Tsar Nicholas II during the Russian Revolution, supporting the rule of Ivan the Terrible, ending the reign of Catherine the Great, isolating Russia from Western Europe during the early Renaissance. The answer is 4. Russia really doesn't have a Renaissance and really doesn't industrialize for a long time because of this isolating factor of the Mongols. In Europe during the Middle Ages, increases in trade and commerce resulted in lower living standards for industrial workers, decreased economic rivalry between kings, increased political power for the clergy, or development of towns and cities. If you pick 4, you are correct. In Europe, a long-term effect of the Crusades was the strengthening of the feudal system, the adoption of Islamic religious practices, and increased demand for goods from the East, or increased European isolation. An increased demand for goods from the East. Once you know things, you want more of those things. Which societal condition was basic to the development of Greek philosophy and Renaissance art? Was it rigid social classes, emphasis on individualism, religious uniformity, or mass education? If you pick 2, you are correct. That's a lot of a reading kind of question, but individualism, humanism, same idea. In the Renaissance period, which factor was emphasized by the philosophy of humanism? Was it superiority of medieval thought, devotion to religion, value of the individual, or obedience to government officials? When I see humanism, I'm looking for individual. Which characteristic was common to the Golden Age of Greece and the Italian Renaissance? A strong military led to national unity. Written constitutions led to the establishment of democratic governments. Prosperity led to the creation of many works of art. Political instability led directly to the formation of unified nation states. When I think of Greece and Italian Renaissance, I think of art. And why do we get art? Because people have enough money to buy art. One similarity between the ancient African kingdoms of Egypt, Ghana, Mali, and Songhai is that all these kingdoms were located in mountainous terrain, coastal areas, on major trading routes, or in rainforest areas. Trading routes, it's all about location. The contributions of the ancient civilizations of Ghana, Aksum, Kush, and Mali demonstrate that industrial technology was needed for African civilizations to develop. Many African civilizations developed in southern Africa. Most of the African continent was unified under a single political system, or advanced societies developed in Africa before Europeans colonized this region. And of course it's this. The Europeans would have thought it crazy, but it's true. And that's the end of Unit 3. Thanks.